In the mid-1800s, the vampire tree legend began in El Carrizal's Barranquitas area. Residents reported a nightly succession of tiny animal fatalities. The deaths seemed normal at first. The phenomena lasted for weeks. Each animal carcass had two closely spaced punctures, which were discovered after an inquiry. Additionally, the body was bloodless. This catastrophe soon spread to children, particularly infants. Dead, marked, and bloodless kids were found in cribs by mothers. Townspeople were forced to stay inside after nightfall. Locals, known for their nightlife, raced home to pray each night to conjure heavenly forces to exorcise this supernatural monster from the city. Weary of the assaults, a devoted group went out one evening to find and kill the vampire-like army. The legend splits into three here. In one scenario, the mob gathered suspects and singled out a pale white vampire-like guy. They staked his heart to murder him. Another version has the mob invading houses and putting a stake into the heart of a guy sleeping in bed. Both versions indicate the corpse was carried to Santa Paula Cemetery. Another version sees the guys trapping a demon stalker. The creature dies as they transport its corpse to Santa Paula Cemetery and puncture its heart with a long stick. The body was encased in a large concrete plate the next morning. Months later, the wooden spike intended to kill pierces the concrete surround and grows into a big tree. Lore holds that cutting the tree trunk will release vampire blood, hidden underneath, or that breaking a branch would spill blood and leave a crimson deposit on the skin. The tree has grown for approximately 200 years. Its massive roots twist and wrap over graves and monuments. The vampire will escape and seek vengeance on Guadalajara when this gnarl breaks the barrier slab. In a death-stricken area, this tree is caged in to survive. The Panteon de Santa Paula Cemetery, in a northern district of Guadalajara's old center, houses the tree. The Panteon de Belen is noted for its eclectic architecture, more famous for its tales. Post-Mexican War of Independence famines and epidemics, cholera in particular, killed a substantial section of Guadalajara's population. More graves were required for the victims. In 1843, Bishop Diego Aranda y Carpintero asked that the Hospital of St. Michael's Orchard become a cemetery. The famous architect Manuel Gómez Ibarra designed and built the site in 1848. Gómez Ibarra was hired 30 years earlier to redesign the earthquake-damaged Cathedral de Guadalajara spires. The bought property had two patios, one for the poor, one for the rich. After the cemetery closed in 1896, the impoverished area was utilized as a hospital and razed in 1967, since most of the tombs were unidentifiable. The rich's land is now a museum. The Panteon de Belen's magnificent tomb is a 120-foot tiled pyramid. Egyptian-inspired, its above corners include 4 weeping ladies sculptures. Jalisco dignitaries are buried in a 64-slot subterranean chapel underneath this memorial. José Rolón, composer. Joaquín Angulo, Jalisco Forum member and governor. Ignacio Herrera y Cairo, physician and advocate of indigenous land rights. And others were put there. After being buried until 1957, the corpses were moved to the Rotonda de los Jaliscienses Ilustres, several blocks distant. 2 of the 4 arcades were erected during site building. Both northern and western colonnade halls have 50 arches. The northern wall has 15 burial niches between each pair of arches, whereas the western wall has 18. Cantera stone columns with Ionic finishes line the 2 colonnades. Within the courtyard, about a city block, are graves, markers, and funerary monuments of diverse architectural types. The cemetery operated for 50 years. Another Panteon de Belen folklore is about the dark phobic youngster. May 24, 1882. A threatening storm was headed toward Guadalajara. Parents prepared 10-year-old Ignacio Torres Altamirano, Nachito, for bed. He was scared of the dark, so his parents and grandparents usually put two blazing torches outside his bedroom window. He slept open-windowed. Each flame was extinguished that night by severe winds. Mom entered Nachito's bedroom in the morning. She ran to her son's bedside when she felt the cold. She discovered Nachito frozen and dead. Doctors eventually found that Nachito died of a heart attack in the evening, possibly from his pathological dread of the dark. Rumors arose that Nachito's heart had erupted in his chest, and that a curse or demons caused his death. El Panteon de Belen, a local cemetery, received the boy's casket. The following morning, cemetery officials discovered his casket exhumed and placed next his grave. In shock, his parents begged caregivers to bury him again. Second morning after funeral, the casket was discovered on the ground again. 9 mornings followed this pattern. No cause was found. His parents believed Nachito's terror of the dark drove him to the light. Even after death, his underground location terrified him. His parents purchased a stone casket with 4 short pillared legs to keep his corpse off the ground and expose it to sunlight. The tomb was above ground at the gravesite. Nachito's folklore captivates cemetery visitors today. Some have seen a boy or balloons hanging above the cemetery, as if carried by a kid. Most popular is the idea that Nachito is a talisman. People give him a little toy and a hidden desire. Tragedies await everyone who removes a toy until it is returned. No one knows whether the little ball that slid away from and returned to the tomb is real. His popularity prompts many offerings to appease Nachito. Cemetery workers often remove and donate toys to local hospitals for terminally sick children to empty the tomb.